I accepted the fact that I was going to be dead. I actually had a harbinger tell me the night I left my reservation. There was this old lady. Nobody ever saw her, could only hear her. And I heard this woman just crying. She was in agony. The hair stood up on the back of my neck. It wasn't very, very long hair then because I was a paratrooper. And I knew that she was crying for me. She was a spirit of some sort. She was giving me warning to be ready. And I got killed. I was June 5, 1969 at 4:35 p.m. I know that because that's where my bloody watch stopped. I was raised by my grandparents, George Running Horse and Lizzie Spotted Tail. So I'm actually a generation older than I really am. I come from the Spotted Tail family. Spotted Tail was, in my opinion, the greatest Lakota chief there ever was. His sister's son was Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse left no direct descendants. In our way, he's one of my grandfathers. I'm a hero worshiper. My first hero is my uncle who was killed in Korea. There were about a dozen of us from my family who were in Vietnam. It's just something we do. We grew up with this warrior culture. And we do have this very, very strong tribal desire to measure up. And I know that it still exists all across the country among the tribes. Probably proportionally twice as many Indians go in as do other people. I was commissioned when I was 20. When I got to Vietnam, I was one of the old guys. I was 21. I was an artillery forward observer, what they call the FO. I spent almost all of my 8 months there with 2 infantry companies out in the jungle. I didn't want to go to the artillery. I wanted to be out there with the guys. And I used to bring in the artillery, and I'd bring in 105 rounds, 10 meters out. That's really, really close. And when artillery hits, it's incredibly loud and bright. You have got to learn how to read this map. You've got to learn how to adjust the fire. You've got to learn how to use your compass, because people who can't see you are going to be shooting based on the information you give them. People's lives and deaths are on your shoulders. Went into a lot of what are called CAs, combat assaults, by helicopter, a lot of them. I was always on the second ship with my company commander. And so we'd be out a quarter mile and see the artillery hitting ahead of us, and then I'd see the gunships firing their rockets, and then as we got much closer, all the gunners and all the helicopters would start firing. There's a strong likelihood that I could be dead in the next few minutes, but it was just incredibly thrilling to be part of that. My RTO came walking up to me, and he said, "Redleg, can you go to the Class 6 store for me?" which is a liquor store. And I said, "I'm sorry, Smitty, but it's closed. What's going on?" And he said, "Well, I just talked to my wife on the Mars network." And he said, "She just gave birth to our daughter, Sonia, and I was hoping to get something to toast my daughter's birth with my friends." I said, "I do have 2 bottles of good German Moselle. Is that good enough?" And he said, "Yes." One of the worst things that ever happened to me was Smitty was killed by a man who just shot a necklace off my neck. Killed in February of '69. I wonder about my RTO's daughter. She's 48 years old now. I'd love to let her know that when your father was killed, we cared. And I think about her all the time. I got there in November of '68, and on June 5 of '69, I got literally got the shit blown out of me. We marched over what were called the Tiger Mountains on the edge of the South China Sea. It was a fishing village called Kim Jiao, right at the mouth of the Bongsan. We had gotten the word that there was going to be a Viet Cong district chiefs meeting, so we came in early. It was still dark out in the morning, and we surrounded the place. The Vietnamese military had a group that everybody called the White Mice because they wore white helmets. And they came in and they knew who this man was. And they knew which house he was in. And so they went in and they found, turned out to be his sister. And they just beat the crap out of her. She would scream, they would scream, and finally she told them where her brother was, right underneath, in a tunnel underneath the hut. So we got in there, killed a couple of them. They were throwing grenades and stuff out. And when it was finally over, we went around that place and I was looking at this hole. I had my RTO and my recon sergeant with me. I sent the recon sergeant back to check in on the artillery net. I sent my brand new RTO after him. Started to turn, I looked down, and the last thing I saw was a really, really big hand grenade. It looked like one of ours, but only was twice as big. The VC had, whoever was in back there before they got him, had pulled the pin on this thing. It flashed. I didn't hear it. I didn't feel it, but I knew I was dead. And in fact, I remember very distinctly that my thoughts were, my God, so this is how it is to die. I just hope it doesn't take too long because I don't want to hurt. But at that point, I didn't feel a thing. Everybody thought I was dead. And I was blinded. My left eye for 2 weeks and my right eye for 1 week. It was very, very painful. I had this incredible sense of letting my company down. They were still out in the jungle, and there I was in the hospital. The sense of letting my company down was really strong. Still is. I know it's not true, but it still is. In the 14 months I was in the hospital, I was on the table 16 times. And I'd go in there and come back all cut up and like somebody had beaten you with a baseball bat. After Vietnam, when everybody else was treating the Nam guys badly, I went home for Christmas. And my grandmother put together what we call waktegli. Wakte means I have killed and I have come home. I got back to the hospital and I was telling my roommates about it. And one of my roommates, Steve, was the last man to be hit on Hamburger Hill with 101st Airborne. And he ended up with losing his complete arm at the shoulder. Steve used to tell people, they asked him, they'd say, what happened to you? He said, well, I was in a bad car wreck. And so when I told them about what I had been given when I got home, they wished they had had something like that too. We Vietnam guys said, you are never, never going to treat our young vets like that again. A lot of vets think that the draft should still be here so that the burdens of service would be shared by the whole population, not just by a few. And I agree with that completely. But it was my choice. I wanted to go. And I'm very glad I did go to Vietnam. There is no parallel in the rest of life. If you serve together in Vietnam or in combat somewhere, you are the tightest group there is. You can count on them. When you know that total strangers, people who've never seen you, are willing to die for you, they know the same thing about you, the sense of belonging is incredibly strong, and stronger, in fact, than any other relationship I've ever had. My going to war and getting blown up, being affected daily, was worth it. Still worth it. If I were a young man, I'd do it all again. I'm a very lucky man.